Hello everyone, welcome back to this video. Now in today's video we'll be looking at file handling in Python. So let's dive straight into it. So the first thing we're going to do is to create a variable, and then we're going to introduce an open function. Now we're going to use the open function. This function takes into arguments. So the first argument is going to be the name of the file. First we're going to write to a file, and so we're done writing to a file, we're going to read from the file. We're just going to go with test.txt, and the next thing we're going to go with is write. Then, this is very important, we must always make sure that we close our file. Now, I'm going to create a for loop. So I'm just going to go with file.write.i plus, I'm going to add a new line character. So now, anything you put inside the write function must be a string. So, because I here is an integer, I'm just going to cast it into a string, and I'm just going to close it. So, when we run the code, we come over here and we see that a file called test.txt has been created, and you see that it does exactly what we want it to do. So now, you notice that there's no 10 here. The reason is that when the Python programming language is counting, it starts from 0 instead of 1. So that is why we end at 9 and not at 10. So that being said, next we're going to look at appending. This is similar to writing, but there's a very subtle difference. So now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a variable called times table. And times table is basically going to multiply 2 times I. So I'm going to use lowercase I. And instead of passing I in here, I'm going to pass in times table. So there's a very subtle difference. So you have to pay good attention to this. So when I run the code, you come over here. And you notice that what was written here previously has gone. Now, if we don't want this to happen, I'm going to change this to A, and A over here stands for append. And next, we're going to go with this. We're going to change this to a tree, and when we change this to a tree, we're going to run our code one more time. And we come over here, and we see that we have a 3 times table there to the end of it. So you can continuously keep on doing that for 4, 5, 6, 7. But I think that the idea is very clear. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to be reading from a file. So I'm just going to get rid of all this text. And then the next thing I'm going to do is change this to an R. Now, there are 3 ways we can read from a file in Python. So the first way is obviously to go file.read. And I'm just going to equate it to fhand. And next, I'm going to print fhand. Now, let's run our code. Now, what you realize is that we see exactly what was written in the test.txt file. So the problem with this is that the .read method returns a test.txt file as a string. So let's say we want it in a list. Then we can go with read lines. And when I run the code, you see that we get a list. But you notice that it's in a strange format because you're seeing new line characters attached to the end of it. So now let's say you want to get it in this format. We're going to have to run a for loop. So that's what I'm going to do. So for I in fhand, we're just going to go with print I. And you see that we basically get our list, but you can notice that there's a lot of space in here. So what we can do to solve this problem is to add the .strip method. We're going to add it within our print statement. Just going to run our code, and you see that this is what we get. This is what we get as our output. So thank you for your time.